Hello. Welcome to this month's Soulcast and Energy Report. I'm super excited to be here with you guys. Whew, yeah, so much to share. I'm getting into the Soulcast, let's see, today being, what's today? The 6th, which is a little late, but for very, very good reason. I had so much going on last month. I'm so curious how the energy worked out for you. For me, it was absolutely life-changing. Last month was one for the record books for me. It was insane. So that eclipse portal, I'm so curious how it impacted you. For me, it was the closing out of so much karma, so much energy. And I remember the last 2 weeks of the Soulcast for October were about, it was the Hermit card, it was about personal mastery, closure, endings, new beginnings. And, you know, I can honestly say it was that for me. I'm curious if it was that for you. Just to share a couple things, because you know what? I think it's good to share wins that we have in our life before I jump into this. And if you're joining me live, say hello in the comments. Typically, I'm doing this through Zoom webinar. I can never see the comments, but this time I had to do it through my phone because my Zoom webinar wasn't working for whatever reason. So say hello. Let me know where you're joining from. So last week, 2 weeks ago on Sunday, I got engaged. And so I am so excited. My partner Ricky and I, we've been together for 2 years, and we kind of promised our lives to each other in April 22nd of 2022, but we did the ring exchange, if you will, just a little over 2 weeks ago. So I was so excited and so happy to call him my fiance now. And I am officially, this is something that has been in the works. This was an 18-month thing. I am officially moving with my daughters to Boise, Idaho to be with Ricky and his son. And so I am going to be Brady Bunching my life with him. We are going to be a blended family. And I cannot tell you that, you know, I don't even know where to begin, but the identity shift that I had to go through to get to this moment in my life that culminated last week on 11/1, which 111 is one of my kind of like master numbers that I work with, was nothing short of miraculous. And, you know, sometimes we search out in life, you know, we are drawn to certain things in our lives to teach, to be immersed in. And if you're new to me, I am somebody that teaches about how to become a new identity, how to create your future, how to shift, you know, realities. And I did it, you guys. I did one of the biggest things. I'm not going to go into all the details right now of what it took for me to get there, but it was nothing short of miraculous. And I'm not talking about, you know, necessarily the engagement. Like, that was something that was in the works. But what it took for me to be able to officially say that I'm moving to Boise, and 33 years of life here in San Diego coming to an end within the next couple months is a miracle. And it'll never, I'll never take it for granted. I will never just be like, oh yeah, that happened. No, it was such a divine curriculum of my life to get to the point to be able to even have this conversation with you. So when I tell you that I am the living embodiment of what I teach, I am owning that with the most authority and agency I have ever had, because I earned that right. You know, there's so many people that like teach about manifesting and, oh, do this and do that. And it's like, yeah, but to create a big reality, like where you're shifting your life in its entirety and doing something new and creating a whole new identity of who you are, I'm your girl, because I did it. And it made me come undone in some ways, because you have to deconstruct your life in order to create a new one. And so I am catching my breath after just October, and I am now getting ready to move into a new thing, which is moving and all this kind of stuff. But it's exciting stuff. That's like exciting and fun and all that. And yes, I will miss the weather in San Diego, in case you're wondering. And I will be back to San Diego all the time. If you were one of my clients and friends that lives here, I will be always coming back to San Diego, because my girls will be back here to be with their father, and I will be back here all the time, because I'll be doing retreats and VIP days and all sorts of fun stuff. So had to share that, because that was, life-changing for me. So that portal, that wormhole of the eclipse that had started back in November of 2021, that came to a completion, almost 2 years later. It's very wild, because Ricky, my fiance, and we met, and under the full moon of Taurus, I think it was November 19th, 2021. It was our first weekend together. And we sat under the full moon in a jacuzzi at this gorgeous property in Sun Valley, Idaho. And it was our first, weekend date together. And we cast love spells basically on life, and talked about, who we wanted to be and what we wanted to create. And when the full moon eclipse happened just recently here, a couple weeks ago, it was like our love story really, kind of solidified. And it's just amazing when you follow your soul, what can happen. And it was so wonderful that, 2 years later, right, a day after the full moon eclipse in Taurus, we, he gave me my ring, and we got engaged and all this kind of stuff. So it's just, it's just incredible how things work out. So anyways, without further ado, I'm going to be doing lots of talking and lots of showing up more on social media, because I have so much to share, and I have an incredible, if you've wanted to coach with me, I have a Black Friday special that is going to blow your freaking mind, where you get to be with me starting December, and all, it's going to be a 7-month coaching container, a group coaching container that I'm going to be sharing very soon this week about, because you know what? The other thing about this month, and I'm never one to want to say my age, but I'm going to be 50 on November 26th. And so I'm going to not only own how old I am and the wisdom that I have, but I'm going to celebrate it and celebrate life and give back, because what God gave me in my dreams coming true, I'm going to help support others. And I already have been doing that, but I'm going to be doing it even more. So I have an incredible opportunity if you want to create your destined life. I'll be dropping that this week. Drop it like it's hot. So I'm going to be doing that. Okay, so let's see what hi Christina. Let's see what the energy is for November. Yay! Started off with a bang for me last week on the 1st in the best way possible. So we had Saturn move out of retrograde over the weekend. Saturn's in Pisces. When we have retrogrades, it's kind of like Saturn's the taskmaster. It's the energy of responsibility. It's like slowing down. And so if you felt, depending on where, Saturn is in your chart, a big slowdown energy, things are going to start to move forward again. And I know I felt it. Oh my Lord. And so I'm really excited that Saturn is direct now. So that's a big deal. So, okay, the card for, let me see. The card for November, which is like, oh my God, is this card, which is called Suffering in Silence. So you could see this as, oh my God, that seems kind of negative. No, there's no negative cards when it comes to this kind of work. This is a card that denotes completion, which we've been finishing things up. We're all stepping into new beginnings. But most importantly, this is a card that is indicative of the stories we tell ourselves and how your story can either empower you or it can make you feel like you're a prisoner of your own life. It always amazes me when I listen to people talk about their lives. I'm a very avid, observant listener of how people describe their realities. And I always tell my clients, like, hey, be mindful of how you're describing your reality. This is a card for November that says you have an opportunity to move into a new way of being, a new way of describing your reality, a new story, especially after this eclipse. And it's important that you frame your story in such a way where you are not the victim of it, but the hero of it. And so you can't necessarily, you don't want to go into it. I don't know, what's going on in your reality, but I know everybody is challenged in some way right now. Even with all my blessings and miracles, I still have other things that are going on that I need to deal with. We all do. And so this is how you're framing the story, how you are using your perspective throughout the month. And it is a call to two important things. One, not letting that story ruminate and create this kind of contraction in your body and in your life. That's number one. And number two is how you're going to express and take action. Because this card, this person here, like they're sitting and they're looking at their life and they are just feeling kind of heavy and overwhelmed and like, oh my God, where do I begin? And how many people right now in the collective are feeling that? Where do I begin? How do I help? Things are chaotic, things are overwhelming. And if you've watched my Soulcast, I said a few months ago, I said, the key to this reality right now is sovereignty and not just buying into your external circumstances. Because if you don't know how to manage your internal energy, you could get sucked up into the fear or the despair or anything that's going on externally. And we have to use our energy in such a way that we are, I always say this, a contribution to the quantum field, which means when we heal, we have a vibration that we send out that supports and helps other people. When there are awful things going on in the world, like there are right now, one of the things you can do is really, work on yourself. Work on the ways that you have limited yourself and see your reality in these limitations, and find a way to get the key that unlocks your reality. So whether if it's money or if it's a relationship or your health, what is the key? And oftentimes it's taking action. It's aligning with understanding and identifying what your story and your thoughts are, and then deciding, do I want to keep perpetuating that? Is that supportive of where I'm going and what I'm doing? And, it's interesting because I got slapped with a bill that is so big right now in my reality when I'm trying to get money to move and do all these things. And it would be so easy for me to be like, oh my God, I feel, trapped in this. How am I going to do this? And I look at it as, this is an investment in my future. I get this opportunity to move. Yes, I have a lot of things happening at one time, but how exciting. The universe, God must know that I am ready and able to do all of this. And I don't look at it as like everything was a choice that led to this moment that I'm living right now. So wherever you're at, looking at it as like you helped create it, you can help shift it, you can uncreate something if you don't like the direction something's going in. But you can't if you're just sitting in silence. This person is sitting in silence, just kind of a prisoner to their thoughts, thinking this is it, this is how it's going to be. So you have this opportunity this month to get out of that mental prison, those limiting beliefs, find the key that's going to unlock. So it might be, because you cannot change your reality if you don't change your behaviors and thinking. So I want you to think about your biggest challenge, and I want you to write a comeback story. This is what I'm doing with my money this month, because I want to pay off this big bill. That's totally worth it. But I want to have a comeback story. And I want it to be really exciting and fun. Something that when I read it, or I have a mantra that's associated with it, then I'm like, hell to the yes. So what could you do that, for this particular area of your life that you may be struggling with, that you might feel like you're suffering in silence, that you might feel heaviness around or towards, and write your comeback story. Write a paragraph, present tense, like it's already happened. You could write it as if it's already in the past. That's what I like to do. Or you could do it present tense if that feels too hard for you. But I highly suggest writing it like you already shifted the storyline, like you shifted gears, you got out of it, everything's in forward momentum, and describe that version of you and that reality and how you would feel and not how it happened, but what you want to see be the outcome, your comeback story. So that's kind of what I really feel is if this is a 9 card, which denotes completion of like, okay, no more of those stories that limit you. You are a limitless being. You can change your reality. I know that for a fact. You can do that. But you have to change your identity. You have to change the internal matrix of how you think within yourself. You have this way of being, and some of you are so fucking addicted to that. Excuse my language. And when you're so addicted to a way of being that it's hard for you to observe yourself. You have to step outside of yourself sometimes and go, oh my gosh, what have I done? What is the thinking that has contributed to what I'm living right now? And what could I do to shift that? That's your comeback story. So that's the month for you, is like really crafting and getting excited about an area of your life that you get to shift and you get to express and speak of in new ways. I'm so excited that my you could say if it was your relationship, my relationship is evolving and shifting in beautiful ways, and we're reconnecting to each other and falling back in love. Oh, I'm so excited that my business is growing so much and I have all these new contacts and people and, or whatever your thing is, if it's your health. Because if you stay in the old energy and the old frequency, then it's really like being imprisoned in your head. So find the things that support you and moving forward into your new beginnings. Because, it's just like I think about like a flower that's blooming and it's very tender in the beginning, and you have to really be mindful of like when it's opening, you're not going to just like go crush the flower. Like you're going to like let the flower open and bloom and smell its fragrance and see its beauty. Find the beauty in your comeback story and understanding why you're in the situation you're in and how you get to change it. Only you get to change that, right? Okay, so moving into the week of the 6th, we're going to just jump right into the 6th. Let's see what wants to be. Okay, so we get the High Priestess. Love her. Love her. Whew, God. I cannot wait to share some stories about the High Priestess energy. It's so easy right now to get bombarded by energy. And I think that's why, we got that kind of card, the suffering in silence. There's so many that are suffering right now in the world. And it's hard to discern what's ours and what is somebody else's. So one thing I want you to think about for this week is how you can be mindful of what your energy is. And I'm just going to say this I'm not going to get into this deeply, but I want to say this really quick. Nobody is immune from what's happening in the world. I don't care how you think or what you believe. There's reverberations to all these things. And that's why it's so important that you are your light is a contribution to the quantum field, because we need your light more than ever. We need your leadership and how you lead yourself and how you are with other people. And so that leads me to this intuitive piece about the High Priestess. She's somebody, and this is, even if a man's listening to this, we all have that feminine aspect of receptivity, of listening to our intuition and being able to take right action based on our intuition. Now, intuition is such a funny thing because it could seem illogical to you. When I first met Ricky and I went to Idaho and I had this deep soul knowing, you're supposed to move here. I heard, I heard this weird voice, not weird, but this intuitive energy voice thing come over me. And I was like, how would I ever in a million years pull that off? How would I ever, I've lived in California my entire life. I had all these stories that limit me. But when you're a high priestess, you understand there's a world, a mystical world beyond, what you can see. So you don't base your reality just on, I need to have proof and this is tangible and I can see this and see that. I live in a world where my intuition guides and leads me into my highest timeline. And that is the invitation for all of you during this week is, where is your intuition trying to guide and lead you? What would it feel like to honor the rhythm of your body so much and be in such communion with your spirit, your spirit and your body becoming one vessel to receive the information that you need in order to move forward in your life? It's a daily practice, right? It's not just something that, you tune into every now and then. It's really understanding that your feelings within your body are a barometer of your soul, and that your soul is always trying to communicate to you, whether it's through, you hear something, or maybe it's through a song, maybe it's through a knowing, or it's a feeling about something, but it's always trying to communicate with you. You're always in relationship to your world. So this is a week to really notice what's happening, to notice what life wants to tell you, and to trust and to follow your intuition, because it's going to take you in the direction of your highest. Oftentimes what I see is women hear this intuitive information and they are afraid to take action on it. And maybe this is the week that you decide that you're not going to ignore it anymore. And I've seen all levels of that. I've seen when women, what happens when they honor it and where it gets them and takes them on this incredible adventure and journey of their life. And I also see what happens when people ignore their intuition. They stay in jobs they hate, they stay in situations that aren't good for them, and they ignore the intuitive voice. It's like ignoring red flags when you're dating. It's what it's like. It's like you're like, I don't see that. I don't want to hear that, because if I pay attention to that, then I'm going to have to make a different choice. And hey, we've all been there. I know I've done that in the past, where I want to overlook the red flags because my brain likes the story. I've idealized something in my mind. And intuition doesn't allow you to do that. Intuition is like, no, this is not good for you. This is not taking you where you want to go, but you have to listen and pay attention. And the best thing that you can do with intuition is, if you're kind of newer to it, is have an intuition journal and write down your intuitive hits, and write down and ask your higher self every morning, what is it that I should do today accordingly to my vision? So I tell all my clients that are in my containers, we always have these choices that we're working towards. Being that we are always creating our reality, that you should know the top 2 or 3 things that you want to create right now. And some of them are really big things, and some of them might be more nuanced, for the month or something like that. But you operate from your vision. So if your vision is, to make more money, you don't just say, I want to make more money. What do I need to do today? You actually spend some time getting in the energy of the version of you in the future that's making the money. And you reverse engineer and get into that feeling. And once you're in the feeling and you come back to who you are and you say, what do I need to do today as this present? Because, you today are the past self to your future self, right? So when you tune into your future and you come back to this energy, like, you should be able to feel a difference. You should be like, oh, whoa, that feels different coming back to me right now. But you ask yourself, what do I do to create that reality, to become the magnetic match of that person? And then you take action. So the high priestess she's giving you the breadcrumbs and the clues, because, intuition isn't going to give you the whole storyline. It's going to tell you, do this next thing, then the next day do this thing. And before you know it, if you were just to do that one thing every single day, you will have an incredibly different life within a year. I guarantee it. So I want to highly support you in listening to your intuition this week and learning and to trust it and understanding that it is guiding it and leading you to your highest. For a lot of you, this might be associated with your solar plexus, where, hopefully for a lot of you, your self-worth has increased and you're feeling better about yourself, and you might have some bigger visions and things that you want to take action upon. And your intuition is guiding you with that. It's trying to tell you, okay, well, then go do this over here. So there's a lot of connection to the solar plexus and this newfound confidence and self-worth that you might be feeling. That feels really good. And I'm also getting, for some of you in relationships, you're going to see things that you didn't see before. And I don't know why, but you're just going to see things have more of a nuanced perspective, and your intuition may be giving you more clues about the relationship and what you need to focus on or where it's headed and all that kind of stuff. So there definitely feels like there's something in relationship to the solar plexus and something in relationship to how you're showing up in your relationship. So whether that's loved ones, children, business, there's going to be some really beautiful, nuanced information coming through to support you and help you in all those areas. Okay, so that's for the 6th. Let's get into the 13th. So the 13th, there's a new moon in Scorpio. So we've been in Scorpio energy. Scorpio is like that shadowy energy where you get to see the things that you don't normally see. Sometimes that's power struggles. It's all sorts of fun stuff that we've been playing in. But we have the new moon next Thursday. And I do a featuring new moon webinar every month. So if you're curious about that, it's you accessing your super conscious, reprogramming, and getting an understanding of how to work with the Scorpio energy and all that kind of fun stuff. So that I'm going to be doing that this Friday if you want to join. Okay, anyways, for the 13th, so funny. We get the third eye, which is very similar to the high priestess. So because it's intuition. So, this one, though, is really interesting because this card, isn't it? I love that color. I love purple, hence my amethyst ring that I wear. So this is interesting how they're showing it to me. They're kind of showing me like this bigger vision, where sometimes you just see like a snippet of your life. There's something about that week with the new moon where you get to see like a bigger vantage point. It's almost like an eagle, whether if you were a little squirrel on the ground or you're the eagle, the squirrel just kind of sees its immediate surroundings. The eagle sees everything, right? Because it's flying around and it has that vision. And so they're telling me you're the eagle this week. You get an opportunity to see the bigger picture. And understand the shadowy energy and power struggles that might be holding you back in some ways, that want to be reconciled or shifted so that you can move forward, in certain ways in your life. So power struggles are not just with other people. They're inside of ourselves, where we're kind of, one of the questions I get asked almost every time I do a session is, why am I blocked in this area? And the other question I always get asked is this going to happen for me? And being a professional channel and oracle now for 20 years, which sounds crazy to say, but I started doing readings when I was 30. The answer I always love to give people, of course I can track the energy and see if things are in alignment, but that's the key. Are you in alignment with the reality that you're trying to create? And if you're not in alignment, you're going to feel blocked. If you're not taking action, you're going to feel blocked. If you want to have something in your reality, have you changed the inner matrix of your energetics to match that thing? And so many people want like a quick fix. Like, that's why my sessions are expensive, because people are like, I just want to have a psychic reading and look at something. It's like, well, no, if you're actually going to change your reality and heal something, there's deeper work to be done. So I don't just go in there and tell you, oh yeah, you can have it, it's yours. Yeah, it might be yours, because you're going to have to do this, and this. These are the things you have to shift. And it might just be your beliefs. It might be subconscious transformation. It might be getting rid of a relationship. It might be having a conversation with somebody that you've been putting off. Are you willing to commit to your growth and evolution and see the bigger picture for the week of the 13th? That's what's coming down for me energetically that I'm hearing. And get into alignment. Get into radical honesty with yourself about how you're tracking. You cannot change anything if you're lying to yourself and being like, yeah, I'm really in faith, but actually every day you're in fear, and your body's a reflection of that. And like, you actually have to be thinking a certain way, right, to create your reality and be in alignment and feel a certain way. So thinking is electric, the feeling is a electromagnetic frequency that you send out. So for everybody this week, you're going to be shown the bigger picture. You're going to show where there might be power struggles within yourself, or maybe even in your external reality. You're going to see the shadowy parts that you're not always privy to. And you get to decide to reclaim and take back your power. So that is how your intuition is going to serve you in the most powerful way. Because when you decide to reclaim all of who you are, life changes for you. So even if you're shown something where you're like, oh gosh, like that's, a bummer that I'm still in fear around this issue. That's okay. No big deal. Do the subconscious transformational work to help you get out of that. Reprogram and rewire your subconscious patterns, because this is the thing, is if your reality is not reflecting back to you what you desire, it's not because, I say this all the time, it's not because you're broken. It's just that there's probably a power struggle between your conscious mind and your subconscious. Your conscious mind is a part of you that's like, I want to change this, I want to do this. And then your subconscious is your programmed identity that you got from mom and dad and from your early childhood. And it may be like, oh God, I don't like money because my parents had a lot of money and they're terrible people, or whatever your storyline may be. So you might be saying, I want to make all this money, or I want to do all these things. I want to get my gifts out into the world. But when you actually go to do it, like, you're saying a narrative, but then when you actually go to do it, something happens in your body. You might have a nervous system response. You might feel overwhelmed. You might get a headache. These are all things that are trying to tell you that you are not aligned. Your subconscious is not aligned, because a lot of times people don't understand how they sabotage. I'm going to say the saboteur. Sabotage themselves from what they really want. because their nervous system capacity is not matching their conscious mind and thoughts. So let this week be an opportunity to go within yourself and see the bigger picture, and with the new moon, set forth a new power doctrine for yourself of like, I am going to have a resurgence of my power in this particular area of my life. I am reclaiming my wholeness when it comes to this external part of my reality. And see what happens. Have fun with it. I love that energy. Okay, so we have on the 20th, Sagittarius season starts the 22nd. I'm like 4 or 5 signs in Sagittarius. Oh, yeah. Sagittarius all the way. Okay, so let's see. For the week of the 20th, we have this lovely card, which is Patience and Planning. This card is fun because it has some, there feels like there's like a lot of support. See those columns? It reminds me of 11. We're in an 11 month, right? A month of manifestation. If you believe in, and I do, and I didn't actually say anything about this, but 1111 is an incredible portal to work with through 1/11, January 11th. And so what I'm getting for this card is the energy of the portal. And this is a class that I'm going to be teaching soon. I'm so excited. The portal is the gateway, the entryway into the impossible becoming inevitable. The impossible becoming inevitable. So first it goes from impossibility. Like there might be something in your life that you're like, that's just impossible. That'll never change. To maybe it'll become a possibility. And then maybe it becomes a probability because you start to change who you are and who you're becoming along the way. And then it becomes an inevitability. And it is a process, especially if there's bigger things that you are manifesting. But this week is very fun because you get to have, like we're coming towards the end of a year. You get to see, you just coming off of 2 weeks, where you're seeing, you got the High Priestess card and the third eye chakra. So you're coming off very 2 intuitive, like weeks where you're seeing the deeper nuances and alignment of your life. And then you get to kind of come into like, well, what do I want to plan going forward for my reality based on what I've learned, based on the misalignment or the fantastic alignment that I am in currently in my reality. So this is a card, it's very 3D, but it also has to do with your frequency because it has a lot to do with, it's like you can't build something if you don't have construction plans. I mean, you could try, but I could imagine that it would be kind of messy. And so this is a week of like, well, back to the drawing board. Like, what's your next thing that you're working on? Like, what's the fun thing? What's the construction plans of where you want to go for 2024? What is the thing in your reality that might require you to slow down and get still? What is in the making already that you maybe want to put a little bit more energy and attention to? One thing that I learned during my time of going through this 18-month process of making my manifestation come through was how much I had to slow down. Because when you're rewiring your nervous system and you're changing who you are, it requires a slowing down. It is not a speeding up. Actually, the slowing down allows you to feel your feelings, which is part of your intuition. It allows you to start discerning. It allows you to become masterful in having and building your capacity to sustain and hold the things that you want in your reality. It doesn't happen when you're busy and you're like a little chicken with your head cut off running around town and staying busy all the time. That's not where change happens. That's action, which is great. But where the most change happens is in, let me say this correctly, during inaction. Isn't that strange? And I don't mean just sitting and doing nothing and watching Netflix. What I am talking about is the inaction time that I'm referring to is when you are building your inner template for the reality that you want to create. So you're spending quality time with yourself and your feelings, your shadows, your triggers, your glimmers, your joy, all of it. You're learning how to hold space for all of who you are so you can manipulate and shift things within your reality. And that requires presence and mindfulness and awareness, and then you take action. Because you could go be busy and it's like somebody, I remember in my 20s, I worked in an office job one time in my life. Oh my God, I was always an outside sales rep. Whether it was in pharmaceutical sales, going from doctor office to doctor office, or it was selling Paul Mitchell or alcohol or whatever I was doing at that time, I was always out and about, like a little, kind of like, reminds me of a little hummingbird, just going out and visiting all the flowers. It was so fun. And it really was very suiting to my personality. And when I had to work in an office and just sit at a desk, and I remember I'm like, oh my God, there's like 8 hours that I'm supposed to fill sitting at this desk when I feel like I could get done this work in 6 hours. So then I would just make myself busy. I'd be like, okay, well, I'm going to go refill my stapler, or I'm going to go call this person. Oh my God, that was not a fun time for me. But my point is, and I'm being kind of facetious and silly, is that sometimes we just get busy because we want to distract ourselves from what we're feeling, and we don't want to actually slow down. And that is something to be seen. But this card is about taking the time to build the foundation of your life, to make sure the construction plan of whatever the next level in your house is that you're building, that you're behind it, that it's in alignment, that it's not that you're doing it just because you feel like you have to do it, or you're doing it based on, this is one of the things I see a lot, is, and it goes back to the card for the month of November, you're not doing something based on, if I do this, I'll feel better about myself. Ooh, are you doing that? I used to think that with money and success. I used to be like, and I'm going against what everybody says in the coaching industry around, everybody's bragging about how much money they make, and oh my God, look at me, I'm so special. It's like, who gives a shit about that? Like, are you actually giving transformation? Are you actually helping people? Are you actually good at your craft? Like, some of them don't even know what the hell they're doing. They're just regurgitating information that they learned from their coach. It's like, that's not even embodied information or integrated. So it's like, when you're basing your reality on some external marking, okay, like if I achieve this, then I'm going to love myself and I'm going to be, so I want you to check in with yourself when you're tuning into the future of who you want to be, and making sure, this is really interesting, that you're not telling yourself, when I have the relationship or the health, then I'm going to be worthy and lovable, because that is just as much scarcity as just being in fear and thinking thoughts around, not having something, because you've literally placed yourself in a fail situation. That thing is the reason why you are a good person. You are a fantastic person because you choose to love yourself and be whole within yourself. And then the external reality will start to eventually catch up to that, right? So don't base something on a future where you're not good until you get that thing. That was one of the hardest things that I learned during these last 18 months. I literally had to reprogram myself and said, okay, if I'm not able to move to Boise for some reason, can I still feel good about my life? Can I still love myself? I had to literally get into neutrality over the thing that I wanted the most. because I couldn't base it upon like, well, my life will only be good if this happens to me, right? Like we have to neutralize ourselves in order to be a creator. Because if you're placing attachment, I know this is like some of the hardest work. This is what I help people in my coaching containers with. If you're basing something on, if I have this and I'm this person, then it's based on lack consciousness. So I gave you an earful with this one. This will be a great week to get back to the drawing board, to think about how far you've come within the year and where you're going and what you want to work on, and just like tidy up the energy. Okay. And last but not least, the 27th, let's see. Okay. Okay, 27th is a full moon in Gemini. And we get this card, which is my favorite, which is perfect because it's right around my birthday. Okay. Sagittarius, first of all, during Thanksgiving week and all that, it's fun, right? Like for the most part, hopefully, if you celebrate Thanksgiving, which I do because I'm in America, well, Thanksgiving is always fun to me because it's like a social time, but hopefully you're around friends and family, chosen people that you love, and you're getting to have an incredible time. Then you come into the full moon in Gemini, which Gemini is a fun, witty, social energy. So it just feels like you're coming into like the last week of the month is very social, and there's going to be some just fun times, and you're going to feel really good. Now this card is one of my favorite cards in the deck. It's called Light. It's the Sun card in the traditional tarot. And this is a card of feeling like things are working, you know, like you're in motion, and you've listened to your intuition, and you're just moving forward, and hopefully that you're incorporating some joy and play into your life when you get this energy, when this card comes up. But most importantly, this feels very celebratory, that you're celebrating life, that you're not just kind of in the energy of what's going wrong in your life, but really focusing on what's going right. And it goes to this thing that I've seen, and I have to find it on social media, but I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it talks about neural circuitry and how when you play, you can do something. I think it's like, and I might get this number totally wrong, but I feel like it's like 40 times, 20, 30, 40 times. And you could rewire your neural pathways. But if you do it through just like the traditional means, it takes like 400 times. It's something crazy like that. And so what if your life this week especially, but I think for all of your life, when you're noticing how you're interacting with life, like think of the people that there's a fluidity to their energy in the sense that they're like flowing with life. You know, they're not so, it's like a river, you know, they're just kind of flowing where they need to go, and there's a path, but they're not so hell-bent on things having to be a certain way. Because that is the interesting thing about life, right? Is the capacity to have the resiliency to flow and not lose our center of play and joy even amidst difficult times. And that was another thing I've learned these 18 months is I went through some challenging times to get to where I'm at right now. And I remember having to still, like, I was like, well, you know, I'm still going to cherish the beauty in my life. I'm still going to cherish what's going right, because I am not one thing. I'm not just this challenging moment in my life. I am also this joy and beauty and this laughter that I'm having over on the other side of something, you know? So I want you to think about the totality of your being this week and how you can incorporate a magnetism to your life that attracts in things. Not everything has to be hard work. Not everything has to feel like it's so hard. What if you got into the sensuality and the flow of your life and you just noticed? It's like bees attracted to honey, right? Like it's just, you start to notice how things are kind of sweeter, and there's a magnetism where people are just more drawn to you because you're just more enjoyable and fun to be around. I know that when I get serious and contracted, it's hard for me. I don't want to be around people sometimes. And I've given myself the opportunity during very difficult times in my life to retreat and retract from people because I believe in self-care. And I know that I can't always show up in this like playful, joyful way until I return back to myself. So this is a week of, I think, really just kind of understanding how you're flowing with life. Where is the light in your life? What is the spotlight, the joy, the play? How is your inner child healing? Because Scorpio, you know, the shadow work sometimes does teach us what our inner child needs in order to heal. And we're in Sagittarius season, which is philosophy, spirituality, the higher perspective. And so this week, it feels like you get to see the higher perspective of your life while having a really good time. And I feel like sometimes we need a break from everything. Sometimes you just need to be in pure joy, enjoying life. So maybe this week, this last week, the 27th for you is your permission slip just to like be in gratitude and just have a good time and play and end the month on that note. I like that. So the energy for the month feels really good. It feels, I'm going to go back to what I said in the beginning is, figuring out your comeback story, figuring out, listening to your intuition, having a plan, having some play with it and some joy. It's really the recipe for life. And understanding that no matter what's happening in the world, you still have a duty within yourself to find the ways that you can be a contribution to the collective. And that means doing the work. And doing the work doesn't have to always be really hard. It can be fun. Like I find that doing the work and being aware of how I'm tracking in my life is just, it's not even work anymore. It's just what I do, because I don't want to mindlessly just bumble through life. And you have hopefully specific choices and things that you are wanting to create in your life. And if you want to create something, you do have to be intentional. And sometimes things happen really easily. Like I loved when I was in my 20s and I just said one time, I'm like, I want to go to Europe every few years. And then I went when I was 22, and by the time I was 25, I had a girlfriend call me up and say, all expenses paid trip with my family to Europe. And it was like I put it out to the universe, but I had no resistance. So when you are going for big things in your life, and this is what I work on in my Majestic Mastermind container, which is a year, and then my other container, Destined, which is a little bit shorter. It's about 6 months. But either way, Majestic's a little bit more, there's a little more, things going on in that one. But in Destined, they both have group coaching. You're always working towards who you want to become, and your soul curriculum, your divine curriculum for who you are right now, life shows you exactly what you need to do and work on to get to be her. And most people, when they're coaching or mentoring you, are keeping you kind of in the same holding pattern of who you've been. I don't do that. I help you root and align energetically, mentally, and how you feel to who you're becoming, because you will not get there otherwise, right? I mean, you could, it might take you some time, but I'm saying in general, if not with me whether it's me or by yourself, like you wouldn't get there unless you are changing your thinking and feeling. So stay tuned for my Black Friday special, my birthday special around my Destined group coaching. I'm so excited about it. And if you are wanting some deeper intuitive guidance and multidimensional healing, I still do offer one-on-one sessions. Reach out to me, and I hope you have a fantastic month in November, and I will see you soon.